If somebody comes and tells you there is a technology that can slow down and almost reverse aging process, that can trigger recovery in all organs and all systems of the body to a point where the cell repair is on its peak, you would probably either think it's impossible or you would think that it might be some high-tech futuristic procedure that will be most likely very expensive. And yet, we all have this encoded in us, and the procedure doesn't even require to do anything. Actually, it's quite opposite. It requires you to do way less. My name is Paolo, and today I will show you how you can turn your body into a biological power plant and start healing and recovering in a way you wouldn't even think it's possible. Fatigue, brain fog, sleepiness, weird pain and soreness that has no obvious source or reason, water retention, puffiness, they all have one thing in common. We could call it inflammation, or if we go deeper, it's a process of putting too much stimuli into the body that body has a hard time dealing with, and we are not giving body space to process it in the right way. If we would talk purely about food, most people operate on a regime breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, maybe second dinner, some snacks again. On top of it, coffee, maybe even some sugary drinks. The body is always processing something, and that takes a lot of effort and energy. There is one catch we need to understand about our cells. They have two main operation modes. They can either replicate and grow, or they can repair themselves. The tricky part is that these processes are not happening simultaneously. It's either one or the other one. We either are repairing the cells or the cell is replicating and growing. This is a little bit exaggerated and simplified because it is all about the ratios of which one is happening more and which one is happening less. But for a simplification, you get the point. The problem with growth and eventual multiplication of the cell is that it is limited. It is limited in a way that the cell, after reaching certain point, will replicate and create its own copy with possibly also the damages that were happening already there. And the new one is continuing in that life cycle. But this replication can only happen certain amount of times. There are structures called telomeres, and you can imagine it something like a countdown clock on these cells of how many more times you can replicate. And when these telomeres are cut off after every replication, the cell will reach the end of its life cycle. And if we let this process to occur often, we run out of the cells quicker, and that is what aging means. This is one reason why aging and metabolic problems appear. When the body is always building, it has no time for repair, and over time the damages will accumulate. So it's obvious that we also want to focus on the repair. This process is called autophagy, and autophagy is from Latin, literally means self-eating. What it really means is healing and repair of the cells within themselves. So the old protein structures are cleaned and the damaged components are fixed. Instead of leaving these wastes in the cell, body cleans and recycles them. That way the cell can function for longer time, and that multiplication, replication will happen later, which spreads the timeline of the life cycle of the cell. The key point is that this process doesn't occur if the body is constantly fed and has enough of everything, or maybe too much of everything all the time. And that's why to trigger it, we need to fast. Short fasting might start the processes, but the real magic starts to happen between 24 to 36 hours without any calories. When the insulin is low and the stored energy is supplying the body for functioning, that's when all these repair mechanisms will be triggered. Body is in a maintenance mode, and it will prioritize repair over growth. And that shift matters for a long-term health. In practice, it's fairly simple. If you finish your dinner at 7 p.m., let's say on Monday, you start your breakfast only on Wednesday, 7 a.m. 36-hour fast with only water intake, electrolytes, but those with no sweeteners, no added stuff. So ideally it's just water with a little bit of salt. And theoretically you can have a black coffee as well. Coffee doesn't stop the fasting processes because on its own it has no calories. And some evidence even suggests that it supports repair of the cell and cleaning. So the rule is simple: no calorie intake in 36 hours. Of course, this is not magic and fasting is not going to make you 20 years younger. However, periodically shifting into this repair mode can absolutely support the longevity in a sense of there is more healthy healing happening naturally in the body. If you do it once a year, that will not make any significant difference. If you make it once a month, awesome. If you do it weekly, you are giving your body a massive time to repair and the healing will go through the roof and inflammation will be suppressed. So the regularity and consistency is absolutely key, as in most of the things. You can choose either morning to evening or evening to morning, which means you can also start by fasting whole day and then you will have the dinner following day. Or you go through 2 nights and you break the fast with a breakfast of the following day. What can you expect is obviously a hunger, a feeling of that you really want and need to eat something. To fight it, just have water, hydrate properly, have some electrolytes, because theoretically some mild headaches can occur, but it's nothing threatening and nothing actually dangerous. Towards the end also depends on how you're spending these days. When you are fasting, you might experience some dizziness, drowsiness, and little dips in energy. However, after certain point, you actually will most likely experience very high surge of the energy. When I do it, for me the most critical is the point around 24 to 26 hours. But once I'm past that, in the morning of the second day, so right before I'm about to break the fast, I feel extremely sharp, extremely wired, and it's something that if you haven't experienced, you would never expect to feel after 36 hours without food. You might also get some shivers and feel a little bit cold. That's also normal and nothing to really worry about. You just go through that. What really can help is keeping yourself busy. If you do it on a weekend day when you're just wandering around the house, you will think about food a lot. If you will do it on a busy day at work, it will be way easier. Also be careful if you have a habit of just randomly snacking on stuff. You might take some food unconsciously just because it's a habit, because it was on the counter, because somebody offered. Be aware, if you're taking it seriously, not to have any calories at all for the whole time, because that's when it makes sense. That's when you will actually get the real benefit. If you're not really sure whether you can make it or not, you can start with 16 hours first. That will be just skipping the breakfast. This is still not triggering the autophagy processes, but it can train you towards that if you're not sure if you want to go straight on 36 hours. If you can make 16, then making it towards 24 on a busy day is not that big of a deal, because you will just push through that, drink more water, and you will be excited for that break at the dinner time. If you can regularly make 24, or the 24 wasn't that big of a deal for you, or you just want to challenge it, push it to 36. There's just one more night. Yes, you'll probably be shivering a little bit. You might be feeling cold before going to bed. You might feel hunger, but you will fall asleep. There is no reason, if you normally are able to fall asleep properly, this is not going to impact your ability to fall asleep. And then once you wake up in the morning, you are there, 36 hours done. About this point, I would not really go further than 40-45 hours if you would want to push it. Anywhere closer to 72 hours, which would be 3 full days, we are slowly getting to a point where body might start to use our own muscles for energy source, so the catabolism of the muscles might occur. That is usually reported only after 72 hours, as my priority is not doing this for weight loss, but for the health benefits. I don't want to get anywhere close to possibility of losing muscles. So that's why I do 36, max 40 hours. If I feel that really great energy in the morning, then I will push it a little bit more and I'll break fast a little bit later. That said, we also need to clarify one thing. Body is very smart, and on its own it wants to protect its muscles. So it knows muscles to a certain degree are an armor to keep, and for most people, body will protect muscle on any cost. Even ultra runners who run hundreds of kilometers or 200-mile races, they are losing some muscles as they go, but it still occurs on these extreme conditions up to 5, maximum 10% of energy coverage for the body. So it's not like now out of nowhere, because you didn't have some food, you will lose all the muscle because body will use it to break down for energy. Body is very smart and very protective in this regard, so you don't have to worry about that. It doesn't also mean that you need to do it constantly. It's just a tool that can be used, and if you're dealing with some sorenesses and inflammation and some of the symptoms, maybe give it a try, and this can restart your metabolism in the proper way when you give it some time to heal. So you'll be in a mode of feeding and building, and then mode of no calorie intake, which will focus on the repair. And if you make these waves correctly in a way that works for you, you can have absolutely massive benefits from this. It is not supposed to be about punishment or about suffering. It's supposed to be action you take consciously for your own long-term benefit. Thank you for watching. My name is Paolo. Send this video to 2 people. One that you would like to do the fasting with for the support, and the second one who you know would be a pain in the ass to be around if they are fasted. If you have any questions or comments, comment under the video or reach out directly to me. Thank you so much. See you on the next one.